All set for the main event now in round 4 of the World Series Sprintcars at Speedway City in South Australia. What a lineup it is for this A main. Skip Jackson and David Anderson share the front row. G. Ando's quick in South Australia. Gary Rush and Brooke Tatnell share the second row. Terry Brackett and Mark Reuter. Peter Smith and Mike Van Bremen. Andrew Shirley and Ron Cricky. Brett Lacey and Wayne Bunker. And Trevor Green and Brett Squires. That rounds out your 16-car field. And we're set for a monster feature race. David Anderson on the extreme left and the blue Wagga Mobile Cranes machine. He's always fast at this circuit. I don't know what it is about Speedway City that suits David Anderson so well. But if you asked him what his favourite track is, I bet this is one of them. Skip Jackson lines up alongside him. It's going to be a tough call for Anderson. Coming up against the reigning World Series Sprint Cars defending champ and a man in hot form after the Western swing. Set for a start. Rush out of 3. Anderson goes to the top. Jackson and he drag racing into 1 and 2. And David Anderson does the job on Jackson, who moved up track, allowed Tatnell through. Bracken had a good look at Rush. They run out of turn number 4. Albury's David Anderson out in front from Tatnell, Jackson, Rush. There is Mike Van Bremen, the youngster from Victoria, and car number 6, Mark Reuter. Second generation racer just up ahead of him in the ROH Engineering 95. Trouble for Peter Smith going off the circuit then in the 8 car. Back onto the main straight. Here is Skip Jackson scooting into turn number 3, back in third, and not at all happy, one would well imagine. Good battle at the moment between Van Bremen in the 6 and Brett Lacey in the Robin Dawkins zone. Number 26, Spees Hecker entry. Van Bremen settling in very well. Punches the car into turn number 3. David Anderson. Gee, he's fast at this place. The Wagga Mobile Cranes car runs into 3 and 4. Brooke Tatnell seeking second spot. Now, Brooke is traditionally very fast here as well. You see Brett Squires in the 17 car there with Anthony Lambert in the 77. There's your top 3 for Yokohama, your current placings. Now, Jackson has peeled back a little bit of ground on Brooke Tatnell now. Onto the main straight, Ando kicking away to a 4 or 5 car length advantage. Brooke running through the middle, Skip Jackson running the low side. Skip's having to pinch the corner off a little bit. It's costing him coming out, but he's getting into the corners a lot faster. Anderson seems to have the groove set very well. Rush still back in 4th. Once again, Skip down low, but Brooke firing out of the corners very quickly. In the Shell Helix, number 8, back onto the main straight. Skip Jackson in the Skilled Engineering, number 7, Jackson-built car. His brother Jeff builds that car for him. It's a real family team. Brother Paul runs the team. Brother Jeff builds the cars. Plus there's, 6 Jackson boys in total, as a matter of fact. Out of turn number 2 now. Brett Squires under siege from Chaz Calandro. Oh, someone in trouble then. Coming out of turn number 2, not sure who that was. But this is a good battle. Chaz Calandro runs up underneath Squires. Down the back chute. Tatnell still trying to run down our race leader, David Anderson, but how is he going to do it? The Anderson Race Engines, number 37, known as the Danger Man on the west coast of Australia, and the Albury Express, most of the other places. Lambert runs a little high, allows Anderson to look through. I bet he breathed a sigh of relief there. Lap traffic is quite often what can bring you undone. Brooke Tatnell through underneath. Well, Lambert knows now, and that's a sign of a good sportsman. Getting out of the way, you can see a bit of a slick ridge starting to run through the track now. It's where the track blackens off a little. And here's where you've got to be careful not to run the right rear tyre through it. Going into turn number 1, there it is, just up above into turn number 1, about 3/4 to half track high. Now, Tatnell is making ground here. Anderson needs to be careful in traffic. Brooke is an opportunist, and Jackson is right there as well. Well, here we go. Skip Jackson providing a bit of interest, and Brooke Tatnell in the unenviable position of trying to throw a move at race leader David Anderson. At the same time, defend the tail tank from a very hungry Skip Jackson. Underneath Squires they go. Anderson skips away just a little. And Jackson, speaking of skips, right on the left rear. And Brooke Tatnell, oh, look at Tatnell's car, get some attitude. Out of turn number 4, he picks up the front wheels, and Jackson pounces through on the bottom. Brooke Tatnell, just enough momentum. It's a momentum game, sprint car racing. You can't afford to scrub off speed. There's something like about 13 laps left to travel by the looks of things. And Skip is wearing Brooke Tatnell like a glove down the back chute. Anderson, meanwhile, if he had mirrors, would be delighted with this picture. because he knows that as long as Skip Jackson gives Brooke Tatnall a hard time, it's going to allow him some ground. But mind you, Anderson up very high. Jackson again has a look on the inside. Brooke Tatnall does not want to let him through. Great racing. You get the feeling Skip's got to get the line here out of the turn. These two dogfighting it, and Jackson goes through the lead. Well, just up ahead is David Anderson, who's running well above the cushion and above that slick rail of dirt. He's got to be careful now. Jackson through into second. But you get the feeling that Skip will still be disappointed. Wow, he was very low, looking for the run underneath Chaz Calandro in the 33. He dives in underneath now. Brooke Tatnall, well, he shifted Calandro out of the way in no uncertain terms. Rush a distant fourth in the Castrol Maxim. It's David Anderson continues to run away. He is so smooth at this circuit. Out of turn 4, he's won a lot of South Australian titles here. Jackson running down the low side of the track. Brooke has fallen back just a little. So you've got 4 very big names in the top 4 here. And David Anderson tearing everybody else to pieces out in front. In fact, he's got the length of the main straight over Jackson. This is a big performance from the man who can be pretty fiery at times, the redhead, but he's a very capable racer. His young son works on the car with him this year. And Ando dialing himself in very well. He won't probably won't run the entire complement of shows this year. He was originally sponsored from last season by Adrad Radiators, and they joined the team of Trevor Green this year. Ever reliable sponsors Wagga Mobile Cranes once again came to the party. Out of turn 2, speaking of Adrad, there is Trevor Green in the number 4 car, running down low in the Freightmaster machine, up behind Lacey. Running for Tasmanian car owner Robin Dawkins this year is Brett Lacey. And Speedway City has been another track that Brett Lacey has done particularly well at. Seems to be a track that a lot of big-name drivers have a great deal of success. Considering they don't compete here very often, well, here's a sweet moment for Anderson. Running up to try and put a lap down on the man who's got his sponsor for this year. Yellows came on. Yes, they did. Squires pulls the car up. Anderson quickly off the gas as well. Chaz Calandro strikes some problems in the Castrol 33 machine. That'll bring us back to a restart. Look at that black track going into turn 1. It is slicked right off. When we say it's slick, I mean it starts to get slippery. We're at the restart now. And David Anderson driving away from Skip Jackson. Rush has a look on the inside of Tatnall. Well, here comes Skip Jackson. The restart was not what Anderson needed. Although he had some traffic to contend with, he still had some real estate up his sleeve. And now comes Skip Jackson, 29 years of age, the young man from Hurstville, desperate to go back-to-back with World Series crowns. Tatnall's managed to fend off Rush. Into turn 3 they run. Anderson up high on the circuit once more, giving Jackson a good look on the inside. Well, Skip doesn't always knock on the fly-wide door before he opens it. And Anderson needs to be very careful here. Using the laws of momentum here is Anderson. Running high off the circuit. Trevor Green and Brett Squires having their own battle. Green wins that battle. Into turn 1, Skip Jackson, a rare mistake, has looped the model and brought the car to a stop in turn 1 and 2. Well, I'd say he might have gone for the big inside dive on the bottom. And Anderson has still had the line, and it's come unstuck, sadly, for Jackson with not much time left. Anderson away. Brooke Tatnall in the second spot now. Rush into third. Anthony Lambert. He may be a lap down on the Club Crocodile, number 77 car. David Anderson, meanwhile, running away. Look at Skip Jackson trying to come from the back of the field and make something of nothing. 1 lap to go for Albury's David Anderson, the Wagga Mobile Cranes 37 car. Brooke Tatnall in second, Gary Rush in third, but the danger man stands tall at Speedway City for round 4 of the World Series Sprint Cars. Great drive. Tatnall in second, Rush in third, and David Anderson wins big at World Series for Speedway City in South Australia. Round 6, the $500,000 World Series Sprint Cars Travelling Horsepower Circus comes to Wagga International Raceway, and you can see this is going to be a specialist racetrack. The reason I say that is that slick spot that runs through virtually half the circuit. It's going to take a lot of throttle control from these guys not to tear up that right rear. You can see a bit of dirt on the outside, a bit of dirt on the inside, but where these guys are running here, it is black. Lesson in throttle control. Who is going to do it the best? Murcott Good result for him in the 32. Starts alongside David Anderson. And away we go, charging into turn 1 and 2. Murcott runs a little high. Skip Jackson down on the bottom. Now, Trevor Green is a man who knows how to get around slick racetracks. He won the Warrnambool Classic in a daytime show last year. That man too, Brooke Tatnall, second in your picture in the Shell Helix, number 8 Schnee, chasing on David Anderson's tail. And Ando, around about his local area, would love to score a major win here. Jackson dives in on the bottom of Tatnall. Going to be a tough racetrack to go fast at. Murcott is back there. Phil Mark, Trevor Green, Brett Lacey, Peter Murphy, John Shaw, Darren Jensen, and Anthony Lambert back in the field. In fact, Bracken just up ahead as well. So a lot of Queenslanders in a very confined space. This is round 4 of the World Series Sprint Cars. Already Skip Jackson has a stranglehold on the series. Good wide shot, a good crowd in attendance. And you can see that black strip running through most of the circuit. See how David Anderson, not very sideways in the corners. Tatnall running down the bottom, picked up a bit of moisture. In fact, gets Anderson going into turn number 1. Well, that was almost effortless for Tatnall. The guys are going to be really careful. In fact, if we had a shot on their feet, you'd see how hard off the gas they are. You can't afford to get on the gas too hard in a place like this where it's this slick. You'll just buzz the tyre up and you'll go nowhere. Into turn 1 and 2. The guys are running the right rears, stuck right in. There's not a great deal of offset here. They're trying to keep the cars nice and tight. Yellow lights on. Trevor Green from South Australia in the Adelaide number 4 car brings on the yellows. Ooh, he's got to go to the tail. It's a long way to the back of the bus. Peter Murphy out there in the O'Brien aluminium car. Darren Jensen, the beautiful Serco. Away goes our race leader, David Anderson. In fact, Ando is our race leader. Well, Brooke Tatnall back to second spot. Skip Jackson trying to find some moisture down low. Make their way back onto the main straight. Brooke and Skip, how often have we seen these guys dueling for a major position in any sprint car event throughout the country? Jackson hanging onto the curb. In fact, that's where everybody is. If you go too far above that black strip, there's really nothing up high. That's what we call marbles. You just get up there, get hung out to dry. Murcott doing a great job. The Tasmanian in car number 32 shuffles out of turn number 2. Going back to what I was saying earlier, the guys certainly don't have the right rear tyre stuck out too far. If you put the right rear out a little bit further, you loosen up the car. You get it tail happy, and you do that on a drivey surface. Certainly not on a slick one like this. You want the car as tight as you can. You want it to drive as hard out of the corners. David Anderson still in control. The Albury Express comes out of turn number 4 in the Wagga Mobile Cranes 37 car. For a long time has been an advocate of the Maxim chassis. It's nice to see Ando out in front going well. Down the back chute he runs. Lap traffic is about to be an issue here. Here's where you've got to be careful. You don't want to get too far out of the groove. There's not much of one there. Tatnall sitting back in second. Brooke is probably a little unhappy that he's not back up in the lead. In fact, it's safe to say he'd be feeling narky about the whole concept. We study Skip Jackson running down the back chute into turn number 3. When you see the flame come out of the exhaust, you know that's when Skip is off the gas. And you can see that's pretty well all the way into the corner. No point in hanging the tail out and backing her in. A, you'll spin out, or B, you'll chew up that Goodyear right rear eagle. Peter Murphy on the bottom now. Starts to move underneath Phil March. March did a good job then to hold Murphy out. There's not a lot of drive there. And Murph tried the aggressive move on the inside, but March was his equal. They come out of turn 4. Murcott having a great run tonight. March back then to Murphy. Brett Lacey. Bracken. John Shaw. Anthony Lambert. Darren Jensen. Oh, Trevor Green very sideways out of turn number 4, and Anderson looking to put a lap down on him. He knows you can't afford to mess around here. Brooke Tatnall sitting right on his tail. Brooke is ever the opportunist. Anderson fires down the back chute into turn number 3 in round 6, the $500,000 World Series Sprint Cars event. Back onto the main straight. Jackson is closing them both down here. It's gone very slick and dusty. Quite rough too in places. You can see it's getting quite physical. Here comes Brooke Tatnall now. Well, Anderson needs to be careful, as Brooke Tatnall is right there. The lap car of Trevor Green. Let's hope he doesn't play a part in this result. Brooke trying to get down low. Well, a lot of experience behind the wheel for Brooke Tatnall. He'll know he can't rush this. If he does, he'll certainly strike some trouble with lap cars. Anderson manages to get Green between himself and Tatnall, but it's only briefly. Here comes Brooke again, trying to run down on the bottom of the track. Very gentle on the throttle out of the corners. Brooke knows if he's down on the gas too hard, he's going to light those tyres up. You'll have nothing left towards the end of the race. Anderson running right through the middle of the track. He's so straight. See, they're just not sideways at all, getting in. Down the back, shooting to turn number 3, and Anderson is very consistent here. Not a lot of lap traffic, which can quite often play a part. Now, you see the way the car lays over on the right rear tyre as they come off the corners. Part of the reason for that is that they've got that right rear tyre tucked right in to tighten the car up. Trevor Green fighting to stay at least on the same lead lap. Jackson moves aside, brushes him effortlessly aside. Skilled Engineering O'Brien aluminium car onto the main straight in third. Not a happy night for Gary Rush. Earlier in the night, a huge rollover, which you saw earlier on. Trevor Green just hooking a rut coming into turn 1 and 2. Good crowd in to Wagga International Raceway. Traditionally, the World Series pull excellent crowds here at Wagga. Here comes Skip Jackson, finding something on the bottom. Well, Brooke got high momentarily. Jackson has a good look on the bottom. Brooke trying to hold him out, and Skip goes through. Well, Brooke Tatnall tried everything he possibly could, but Skip, relentless, just moves through into second. In fact, has opened up a bit of ground on Brooke. Wouldn't surprise me if maybe that tyre has gone off just a touch. Into turn 1 and 2 he runs. A little bit of smoke starting to wisp around the left and right rears. Well, caution light, not sure what the problem was, but we go back to restart. Brooke Tatnall back to second. Well, Skip Jackson's run at second place was very short-lived, given the fact that in sprint car racing they go back to the last previously recorded lap prior to the yellow light coming on. Phil March is right in the middle of it. And see the brakes lighting up on some of these guys' car. They're hard on the brakes coming in to keep the car straight. Well, Jackson now moves past Tatnall. Brooke will try and have a look back on the inside. Whoa! And I mean the ultra inside. I think Brooke knew that. Jackson just coming back. What a battle between these two. Brooke says, no way. I want second back. I know I need the points. I can certainly use the cash. Jackson bounces back through. Well, this is entertaining stuff on a challenging track, to say the least. But look at Skip. How can he just open up that much ground so quickly? He comes after Anderson now. Well, David Anderson needs to be careful here. Skip Jackson on a mission, pulling himself from third up to second and really chewing on the left rear of Anderson now. Can't be very many laps left in this. And Skip hounding our race leader. Oh, he got very loose there. Well, that cost him enormous ground. And with only 1 lap left to go, that's not a good thing for Skip Jackson. Anderson, I think, is going to cruise to victory, and he really deserves it. It's been a very consistent run for Ando. He's handled the track conditions better than most. Skip Jackson's back in second. Brooke Tatnall in third. Phil March has soldiered on for his 4th spot. It's a good battle between he and Peter Murphy, and also Danny Smith on your shot right there. But David Anderson sweeps to victory in round 6 of World Series Sprint Cars.